Hi everybody, welcome back to Tips for You. Today I want to talk to you about sleep problems, insomnia, that type of a thing, things that keep you awake, and give you some tips on how you can rest better. I can't tell you enough how important it is that you get enough rest every night. Getting enough sleep is single-handedly responsible for you feeling your optimal best. If you're working towards a new goal with your figure, if you want nicer hair, or you're trying to clear acne, or your skin just isn't looking very good. You know, we talk a lot about beauty and hair ideas on Tips for You, and sleep is one of the most important ways that you can achieve those goals. And it's not a luxury, it's a requirement. It's the only time that our body gets to rest, relax, and repair. It's important, if you're trying to lose weight, that you realize that not getting enough sleep actually promotes more eating. Your body tends to be more stimulated towards wanting food, especially fats and sugars, throughout the day to compensate for the lack of rest. Sleep is regulated by melatonin, which is produced in the pineal gland of our brain. It's regulated in the daytime and in the nighttime. So during the daytime hours, the melatonin is very low. And during the nighttime, it starts to be produced more, and that gives you the drowsy effect. Now, if you have a job or you're indoors a lot and you don't get enough of that natural sunlight or light on your eyes that goes into your brain, your body may produce melatonin earlier than it needs to during the day, giving you that sleepy feeling. Opposite of that would be in the evening when you're up late and you're watching TV, you're on the computer, you're delaying your body's production of this hormone called melatonin, which is responsible for you to get into the sleep phase. It does a lot of things for the body. It's actually being studied because it has properties that may fight against cancer. It's a very important hormone. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you regulate your daytime and nighttime schedule to regulate that production of the melatonin. Now, before I get into the tips about what you can do to help your body sleep better, longer, and more restful, let's talk about whether or not you have a problem. Now, everybody does have issues with sleep once in a while. Perhaps you were on a long trip and you have jet lag. Perhaps you're worrying about something. You have a big presentation coming up or a big project due at school and it's on your mind, or you're excited about something. You know, you're taking a trip and of course the night before, I mean, who doesn't stay up and worry about flying, and you're excited about going and all these different things. But these are temporary measures. This is temporary insomnia, and it usually subsides when the cause starts to subside. But if you find that after 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night that you're still tired in the daytime, feeling cranky and sometimes depressed and irritable, then you may have insomnia. And you want to look at your sleep pattern to make sure that there isn't something that's causing the insomnia. Now, if this continues for, say, 3 weeks or more, then you have a chronic type of insomnia, and you may want to consider seeing your doctor. Also, you may want to see your doctor if you have something called obstructive sleep apnea. That is when you are awakened many times during the night while you are sleeping. You startle awake. Some of the signs that you have obstructive sleep apnea is snoring, or if you're next to someone and they're snoring and then all of a sudden they stop breathing, and then you hear them, gasp for air after, say, anywhere from 20 seconds to a minute, sometimes even longer. They have what's called obstructive, they can have what's called obstructive sleep apnea. It has to do with the soft tissue in the palate kind of obstructing the airway. And you'll need to see a sleep specialist for that. So you'd ask your doctor, tell them about the problem and say you need to see a sleep specialist, and they'll do a sleep study on you. It's nothing to be afraid of. You simply go to a center that does these studies. They have a nice bed for you and you have to sleep there. And they kind of hook you up with some electrodes and they monitor your breathing pattern and what's going on when you're sleeping. And they can tell how many times a night you stop breathing and you get startled awake. And then they'll prescribe the best course of treatment for you, which sometimes involves wearing like a respiratory type machine. There's also something called restless leg syndrome, and this can cause people to stay awake throughout the night, because when they're lying still and they're in bed, their legs start to feel jumpy and itchy and prickly, and so they start moving them a lot. Sometimes people with the obstructive sleep apnea, or just the sleep, let's call it sleep apnea, also experience the restless leg syndrome, because it's all part of the not getting enough oxygen while you're sleeping, and it causes the legs to be restless. I mean, the whole body is not getting oxygen, and it's really something that you don't want to ignore, because it can lead to all kinds of health problems, including heart disease and strokes and things like that. So what can we do? Whether you have insomnia, temporary insomnia, you have problems sleeping, perhaps you're going through menopause, which is another time for women where they're experiencing sleep problems due to hot flashes and hormonal swings that are going on during that time, or whether you have sleep apnea. Now, if you have sleep apnea, again, you need to see a doctor for that. So the first thing you want to do is you have to prepare yourself to go to sleep. And your body just can't be going from awake to asleep without a bit of a wind down period. Now remember, I talked to you about the melatonin, that hormone that's produced by the pineal gland in the brain, which is responsible for making you drowsy. Well, what you want to do is you want to encourage that at a regular time every night. And you also want to counter that with enough daylight hours where you get sun exposure to your eyelids. You only need about 5 minutes a day. You also want to, if you can't get outside during your work day, to take a walk and let the natural light onto your eyes without contacts and without glasses. The light has to come in. Then I would suggest try opening the blinds in your home or in your office. Try to get as much natural light in as you can. Then that's going to regulate your daytime clock. It's going to let your body know, okay, it's daytime now. I won't produce a lot of the melatonin. Then the nighttime comes. Now it's time to produce it. You don't want to hamper that with electronics. Now in our society, of course, we have electricity, and with that comes the ability to stay up into the wee hours of the night. But what you want to do is do things that require less light going into your brain. So for example, an hour before bedtime, you're going to start with your bedtime routine. Now this involves turning off your computer. You're going to go away from your computer. No TV. Don't read at your iPad if it's backlit, or your e-reader. Anything that's backlit, that you're looking at a bright screen. That is going to delay the release of the melatonin hormone so that you can become drowsy and ready to sleep. And it's this delay that keeps people awake. It keeps you stimulated. So read a book, or do some light things around the house that you need to do. So take that hour now before bedtime. Brush your teeth, get your things ready for the next day, wash your face, put all your creams on, and then when you're ready for bed, go to your room. Now you want your room to be as dark as possible. So when you have the darkness will promote the melatonin secretion and production. So in your bedroom, to get maximum melatonin throughout the night to help keep you asleep so that the melatonin doesn't get interrupted by light, try to make sure all things in your room that have light or a light source are covered. That means your alarm clock, if it's digital and it's lit up, that can interfere if it's shining on your face while you're sleeping. It goes right through your eyelids and it goes right into your brain, and it can actually affect your melatonin. So you want to cover that. I do all of this religiously every night. I turn my clock around so it's facing the wall and it's not shining bright in my dark room, which will give off a glow. I also have a TV in my bedroom with the cable box, which is glowing bright with the lights. And I'll just put a pillow blocking the light from there. Anything that you have in your room, including a computer that may be closed or on or whatever, and it may be glowing, or a little, like the little dot charger is glowing. Again, just cover it with something. Don't have those lights glowing. Now, if you live in a city area or something where you have light coming in from the street, it's important that you try to take whatever steps you can to minimize that light. That would be to buy room darkening shades, and be sure that you buy them wide enough that they cover as much of the crack in the window as you can, as far out to the window frame as you can go, and still be comfortably pull the shade up and down. So you'll block the light that way. Now, if you also live in an area where there's noise, try getting something that's called white noise to block out the noise that's going to keep you awake. So if you're sensitive to sounds, and many times people are that have trouble falling asleep, you hear dogs barking or car alarms, or cars going by, or people laughing or anything like that, you can get a box or play some type of music or sounds that will relax you. You can even play one of my meditation or relaxation videos, but let it be something that you're familiar with. Don't put the TV on. Don't put on like an audiobook, anything that's going to engage your mind. It should be something that you're familiar with, and something that's restful and calming. So now we've got those tips about our room. We know we're going to keep it dark. We're also going to keep it cool. The temperature of your room is very important, because as you get close to bedtime, your body temperature starts to drop. That's very important in getting your body ready for sleep. That's why sometimes in the dead of summer, when it's really hot out and you don't have air conditioning or any way to get cool, it's hard for you to fall asleep, because it's hard for your body temperature to drop enough so that it goes into its sleep mode, and that's what it does. That's why we cover ourselves at bed. And if you have children, or you're around children, you know that children need that unwind period before they can fall asleep. So you give them their bath, and then you bring them into their bed, and you talk with them a while, and you read them a book, and then you tuck them in, and finally they're able to nod off, because children have so much energy and they're always moving. So you have to wind them down. Well, you have to do that with yourself too if you have sleep problems. You have to wind yourself down.